welcome to Talking All Things Business. I'm Faye Waterman, your host, and my guest today is Ildi Racz. And what we're going to be talking about today is Ildi becoming a published author, Ildi as the CEO of Antplanner, and the Time Wizard, which is a rather interesting thing to say. Rather interesting concept, to say the least. So, Ildi, welcome to the show, Talking All Things Business, and thank you for your time. Let's talk about the experience you just recently had, becoming a published author.
First of all, thank you very much for having me, Faye, and on this show. And hi, everyone. Yeah, it's exciting because this project came about pretty fast to me. It's been in the books for quite some time, but I resisted it.
Why did you resist it?
Well, Jane Alveston, who is the compiler of this anthology called I Said No, was part of another book called I Said Yes.
So I Said No is what you're in as a published author.
Yes, it's a beautiful little book. But it had a predecessor, so it had a big brother or big sister called I Said Yes.
Right.
And it was an interesting conversation that Jane had with the publisher, Samantha Jensen, and they kind of made fun of the fact that there should be an I Said No anthology after the previous book. And I didn't really make too much of a thing of it, and I said, well, I'm not really interested in writing a chapter in anyone's book, but then it's such an intriguing topic. And
intriguing topic to say no when you want to say no and you feel like that you need to say yes when you really want to say no.
It's a really interesting thing because I believe that we are living in a very much yes conditioned world.
Yes.
And we feel so bad about saying no, and I think we are sabotaging ourselves by saying yes to pretty much everything. So over the past year or so, I've been asking all my clients about where are their boundaries, because saying no means that you are creating more space for the important things in your life.
Yes.
And I find that this book has two different kind of no's. One is all about that big cathartic no that changes things.
Yes.
And the one that literally flips your whole life upside down, and you are starting to look at things from a different perspective. And then of course there's the other kind of no, which shapes your life. The one that you don't even realize that sometimes that you are saying it, but because it is aligned with your values and because it is aligned with who you are, it literally creates a different kind of space for you to function. And I find that we forget how important it is to say no. And I usually start with all my clients, especially women in business. I get them to grab a piece of paper, and I've been doing this for years now. And I always ask them to write the word no with a big period at the end and stick it on the wall.
And the concept of that is rather interesting, because we usually are conforming to the norm, can I say, or the environment or the community or whatever, or to our loved ones or whatever, when deep in our heart we know we don't want to say yes, we want to say no. And no is something that we have to get used to saying, isn't it?
Absolutely. It was very interesting because on the weekend I had a workshop with some beautiful ladies, and one of them has been a long-term client of mine. She's seen me grow as a time management consultant, and Jeanette was saying that it's amazing how far she's come when it comes to setting her own healthy boundaries and saying no, even to things that previously she could not even comprehend or think about saying no. Like if she's doing something around her business, then if she has to say no to taking care of the grandchildren, then that's what she does right now, because her priorities are around her own personal growth. And it's her time now. She's been a fabulous community person, and all her life has been all about community and helping others. And here she is, above 50, and she's just realizing that there's more to life than just serving others. You have to serve yourself first, yes, in order to be able to give back to the community without burnout.
That's right. You have to take care of yourself first before you
Absolutely.
Can anyone else. And it is, you know, you get to a stage in your life where you say that, you know, it's time for me. It's not time for me to serve other people. I will be able to do that, but I have to look after myself and serve myself first, so that I have what I need to actually serve others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's very important, and we forget that someone said this analogy last week on a podcast I was listening in, and it's interesting how men think about things from different points of view. And he was saying, if you get on a plane and you know the stewardess gives the pep talk about security and safety and so on, what they say is that first pull the mask, put it on, and then help others.
Yes.
And we kind of forget that applies to real life too.
Well, it does. It actually does. And that is a reference that a lot of people make, you know, put the mask on first and then help the children or whomever is around you to help. So that's really, really important. What is it that you experienced this feeling of being a published author? What was that like?
First of all, I got to fly to New Zealand, which in itself is a bonus. I've never been to New Zealand before, but I think the most precious thing from this whole book launch was meeting other people who think alike.
Yes.
That was just such a beautiful thing. And my chapter is a little bit different than everyone else's, because I talk about my own personal journey on and how saying no to sometimes to my poor upbringing actually shaped my life and got me where I am today. And my chapter is called "No is a Full Sentence."
No is a full sentence. That's an interesting. It'll make people stop and wonder, what is she talking about? So that's great.
And it's really interesting, because it does tie in closely with what I do and who I am today, and the way I help shape. I help people find their own time language. Yes. Because in the end, I find that time management is not necessarily a term that is positive today. There's a very small percentage of people who thrive on the concept of time management, but most of us do struggle with getting a grasp of how we spend our time and how to become more productive without losing those important little things in life. And I think everything starts with knowing how to say no.
Yes.
Because when you realize that you're saying no to the wrong things and saying yes to the right things, then productivity just aligns with you and it just happens.
Yes. So this will take us into now what you actually do as a time wizard. I'm going to call you a time wizard. A time wizard who teaches people to actually take note. It's not time that we manage, it's the activities within the time we manage. And this is what you teach them, is to be aware and bring that time to be, your best friend, really.
I would even take it to one step further. It's not even the tasks that you manage, it's really yourself that you manage. It's all about your own personal perspective on time, and it's all about your own personal relationship with your own time. And this is why anyone who knows me knows that I talk about making friends with your own time.
Yes.
Because I do think that if you are aware of your choices, and if you are making those choices on a conscious level, and you know what, we're making more than 35,000 choices a day, so there's quite a lot of them that we do. But I find that the more of them are on a conscious level, the easier it is to find the things that are important and manage ourselves and find the path that actually takes you where you want to go.
Yes.
So I find that time management techniques are everywhere. So I usually, it's funny, but I think if you only need time management tricks and tips and so on, just Google, don't pay me.
With you're running a workshop, you've got a workshop coming up in July, mid-July. And why should people attend? What is it that they will get from this workshop that you're actually running?
Well, it's actually a workshop series. I run them every third Monday of the month.
Right.
And there's a bit of madness around why it's that third Monday, because I think it is the time when you start to think about your next month.
Right, yes.
And also it's a Monday because I believe that the week has to start with some sort of planning. And I really hope that just by having this workshop on a regular basis, same time, same place, same environment, it will just start creating some habits. But this workshop is called the Blueprint to Life Work Harmony, which probably will change to Unity, because I find that there has to be some sort of strong correlation between life and work, because that's what we do. And
a lot of our time working, you know, at least 40 hours a week of our time working.
Absolutely, it's a big chunk.
And then what do we do with the rest of our time? And we
Absolutely.
have a amount of time left to actually do things in. And are we going to be productive with that, or are we just going to waste that time?
So virtually what the aim of this, there's two parts to this workshop. One is all about time mindset. What I do in this workshop, I'm shifting the mindset of how you look at your own time and how you perceive time, and give you some language around how to change how you perceive your own time. And hopefully by doing this, you will have a better relationship with your own time. And the second part of the workshop is a bit more practical. It's all about how to use a planner in order to support you and yourself on this journey. So because
do you find that there are more people using a calendar, electronic calendar, more so these days than your actual real calendar, the one that you write in, you know?
Well, let's start with a little bit of language play here, because we use these words calendar, diary and planner in a little bit of a mixture, and we're not really aware of what we do with the lingo around it. I strongly suggest to everyone who meets me to use the word planner, because in the end, your electronic devices are only good to support you with the jingles, and it's pretty much a diary. That's all that it is.
Yes.
And you know, the calendar is by definition, a calendar is a structure of time.
Well, it is a planner as well, isn't it? I mean, a calendar is a planner. It's because you put things on it. It is a structure of time, as you said.
No, actually, if you look into the dictionary, you'll find that it's very interesting. A calendar, by definition, is a definition of how we perceive time. It means the year, the 12 divisions, which are the months, the 52 divisions that are the weeks. So it's literally a description of how we perceive time. That's all that it is. It's really interesting. The diary then is pretty much recording. Those are the bits, the little recordings, and it's very linear. And the problem with the diary is that when you use the word diary, all you think is your next appointment.
Yes.
While when you use the word planner, for some reason your brain opens, and the word itself means bigger chunks of time. And it's really interesting how even if you don't change the tool that you use, whether that's an electronic diary or a planner or a paper diary, just by swapping the word, interesting things can happen. And suddenly your whole brain thinks in a different way, and you look at everything from a different perspective. And I find that people come back to me after a few months of doing the exercise, and they say, now we're frustrated, so now I want a planner, a real one. So
you don't send them away with a planner or anything like that when they first come.
I do believe that if you will not be convinced first that it will be useful for you, you will not use it. So what's the point in spending $40, $50, $60 on something that will sit on your desk and you will not make the most of it? I don't believe in that. And also, we're all different. Some people make their electronic diaries and turn them into successful electronic planners.
Yes.
There's a few tips and tricks that you can use around that. And some people just cannot replace pen to paper, and that's perfectly fine. I find that if you really mean changing the way that you look at things, then a paper planner is a very handy tool to create the habits.
Yes.
And then you can transition and how to say, convert those habits into the electronic world. But it's not easy.
Yeah, but you can have both, can't you? Because
oh yes, absolutely.
I use both, and I think the electronic one is a good reminder because it dings when something's supposed to happen and things like that. So that's a good reminder when you're busy doing something and you've got your next appointment or whatever it is that you have, then it's a reminder to say, okay, time's coming that you need to stop this and start doing something else, or you need to be somewhere else. So they can work in unison together very well, but you need to know how to use them well, don't you?
Absolutely, and this is what I pretty much do in the workshop. I show you a different way of looking at a paper planner. I mean, my paper planner does not have details. All my details are in my electronic diary. It's a perfect space to store addresses, phone numbers, notes, and so on. My paper planner is purely designed to help you make, how to say, the best use of your time.
Yes.
To find your time in the week, yes. And to have that different perception of where time goes in the week. For everything else, we have amazing gadgets. Why wouldn't we use them? So I'm not against the gadgets. I love my gadgets, don't get me wrong.
Gadgets. I mean, how many more can one have?
Oh, yeah, well...
How many more can one have? You can only use one at a time, or maybe two at a time. But then you sort of think, oh, well, I want to use that, so I have to put this one down and this one down, whatever. But with your workshop, when someone comes in that isn't managing their time very well, and they're frustrated, they're using a diary, but they're using a planner that is not working well for them, what is it that you first say to them, or what is it that they say to you besides, I'm frustrated?
Well, first of all, we do a bit of maths, and I'll show you that there's plenty of time. That's how the whole workshop starts. And then, as I said, we work a little bit on how to shift that mindset and how to I'll give you some tools to help you on that journey when you are getting in that frustration mode, because there's things that you can do. There's a model that I work on, and it's very simple. It's it's very, very simple, but it helps you refocus on the present and on the now, and it takes you forward. And then of course then you get to have a glimpse of the blueprint, because 3 hours are not enough to actually work through the whole lot. So I literally coach people over 12 weeks to really go deep.
Okay, so if someone attends your workshop, then you get to coach them for 12 weeks, or is it that they can go to the workshop and not be coached, but the best thing for them is to be actually coached so that they can manage their planner and their electronic planner as well, and so get a better hand on how to manage themselves?
There's a couple of things you can do. One, there's one specific type who walks in, sees the steps, and then they make sense, and they create their own version of the blueprint, and embrace it and run with it. I think you have to have a special organizational gene to do that. Yes. But there's lots of you out there who actually do that. Then there's the other category who needs help. Now there's a couple of ways again to work with me. One is I have a full year program, because I found that I used to do 4-week workshops and 8-week workshops and 12-week program, and in every case, after the end of our last touch point, about 6 weeks later, people started to slide back into old habits. Yes. So I created this 12-month program, which starts with an intensive 12-week. So I'll give you all the tools, all the knowledge. I'll help you through the hurdles, and I'll set you up, and I'll help you find your own personal time language. And then after the 3rd month, there's a care program in place, which is all about tools, and chances to reconnect and plug in when you feel like you're sliding back into that old self. So there's advanced workshops in it. There's a Facebook group. I'm just setting up a LinkedIn group for all those people who are not on Facebook. There's a podcast on the making. Just yes. Coming soon, isn't it? Very soon. It's about a month away, and there's an online course in the making, which is roughly 2 weeks away from being launched. This online course is almost like a textbook. Right.
Okay. So when do you suggest that they do the online course, and when do you suggest that they come face to face, or should they do both?
This is why the online course is included in the Time Fix program, because I find that it's a great way to have some supporting tool when it comes to the knowledge and to the 7 steps. But it will be available even outside of the program. So if someone just wants to run with their own way of doing things, but they still want to know a little bit more about the 7 steps and look at things from a different perspective, then the course will be available to them too, for a whatever fee. I haven't even figured out the price point for that, but it's gonna be around, I'm guessing, a couple of $100 for lifetime access. And the whole idea is that there's 7 basic steps that you need to follow in order to set up a planner properly and then use it at its most. And if you go through this online course, that will give you quite some support in how to make the best of a planner. And you don't have to have an Antplanner to apply these steps. It doesn't really matter what kind of planner you use. If you apply the 7 steps, then you should be pretty much fine, and it will give you great insight on your business health, because a planner is an amazing tool when it comes to business health. It is the first place that will tell you that something's off.
Yes, and I mean, if you don't plan, you plan to fail, don't you?
Absolutely.
So you need to have some form of planning in place, whether it's electronic, whether it's tangible, whatever it is, there's got to be a plan in place. You've got to have a focus of down the track where you want to go, what you want to do. And if you don't, if you don't have those things in place, nothing will happen. And in business particularly, you need to have those plans in place at least 3 to 6 months ahead of time, if not 12 months ahead of time, if not 2 years ahead of time, depending on the business
Where you are at.
You're running and all
I kind of find that you can't make the right choices, and you cannot have your right priorities, and you cannot have goals that are supported by your actions and priorities unless you have a plan that glues everything together.
That's right.
So the plan literally is the glue between these three: the choices, priorities, and your goals. It's that platform. If we want to speak, nowadays language, it's literally the platform that supports everything you do in order to get where you want to go, in order to achieve your dreams. So it's quite an interesting thing. But through the Time Fix program, I really want to offer a platform for at least a year for everyone to have the right support, to have unlimited email access to me, and I have other tools that I use where anyone who is on the program has ways to connect with me quickly. And of course, I really hope that through they are not even workshops, I would say they are master classes, the advanced master classes, they will be really much hands-on. So there's these master classes will not be accessible for the general public.
Right.
They will only be accessible for people who worked with me already or who are on the program. For those who are on the program, they are free. For anyone who worked with me but wants to come along, there's going to be some sort of fee, because it has to be there's bills attached to everything that you do.
There's business, and you're providing a service, so
absolutely
some form of remuneration to more time.
Yes, but these will not be about mindset. These will be hands-on, sitting and working out issues and going back to the root of the problems and working out some sort of plan and direction. So with the advanced master classes, my goal is to anyone who walks in to walk out with a solution to the problem.
Beautiful.
So
with these workshops and with your program, your 12-month program, and your masterclasses within the program, what are some of the benefits that people will get from them?
I guess one of the biggest benefits is that as much as we are amazing at setting goals, there's so much out there that you can do around working out what needs to happen over a year. We get lost in the details. So what I hope to achieve is to help you work out a doable plan. I usually say that I am probably your next step after you worked with a business coach on your goals and on where your business needs to grow, because I will be the person who can help you chunk it down and make it work on everyday basis. Because it all comes down to, from that moment that you know where you're heading, how do you get there? What's your road? How do you manage yourself? What are your milestones? And this is why the planner itself is structured in the way that it is structured, that it has yearly goals, it has quarterly goals, and then it has monthly goals, and then it has weekly goals, because these are the big milestones when it comes to achieving what you need to achieve over a year. So I really hope that I can help anyone who comes on the program find their way and make sense of their own roads in getting to the bigger picture, to the bigger goal.
Right, to where they want to go.
Absolutely, and to do this without overwhelm.
Yes.
Because we struggle. Many of my beautiful customers come and see me when they are in that overwhelmed state. You know, when your to-do list becomes so long that you just put up your hand and say, "Nah, I can't do it."
I've been there.
And the fun part is that everyone says that that's okay. I'll just put that list aside and I start a new one.
Yeah, no, it
Really?
doesn't
It
work.
doesn't help. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
So there's lots of things that you can do around that, and how to manage yourself and how to pick up yourself. And this is where I talk about time management archetypes. It's recognizing that I'm in survivor mode.
Yes.
And how do I get out of there? I want to be an aspirer. I want to be someone who has freedom, who knows where she's going. I want to be in control of my own journey and my goals. So I find that it's so easy to go from up to down in pretty much a couple of seconds.
Very much.
The question is usually, how much time do you spend in that survivor mode? Does that become home?
As little as possible. You know, you don't want to spend too much time in there. We can start feeling sorry for ourselves and go into that victim mode, I suppose you could call it. But it doesn't help us at all. So therefore, we need to get out of it as quickly as.
Absolutely.
And it's all about attitude too. It's all about changing our attitude.
Sometimes it's not necessarily the attitude, it's having the tools to break the cycle.
Yeah, and attitude does come into that, because, you know, our thoughts, feelings and actions sum up to our attitude. And it's having those tools, it's breaking those boundaries, it's breaking those habits, it's breaking those paradigms and creating new ones, which you are actually doing with the people that you're working with. You're breaking their habits, you're helping them create new ones, and it's over a period of time. You can't break a habit that's been there for years and years and years in a few minutes. It takes time. So therefore, you work with these people, give them that time to break that habit and develop the new one, which then will take them on in life to better things.
And this is why I really would love to work with as many people as possible on a long term.
Yes.
Because even if you feel in control right now and you say, yep, I'm on top of my ball game, that might not be the case in 2 months' time when something tragic happens in the family and you're thrown in that survivor space. And even though you are becoming aware of the fact that you're there, you just don't have the tools to get out of it.
Yes.
And recognizing that is quite important. And I do think of myself I think I'm a great connector, and I'm building a quite beautiful community of amazing women, and not just women who specialize in giving you those tools. So I really would love to be able to be there on the journey and help when help is needed.
Okay, now it's coming to the end of the time. I want you to give 3 tips of the reasons why someone must attend your workshops and work with you on your master classes and your 12-month program. Tell me the reasons why.
Well, the first reason is, if you feel like you're constantly working, then you definitely need to come and at least sit in with a blueprint workshop, because it will actually give you a different kind of view and different perspective on business, and it will help you give yourself permission to be present in what you're doing and not have that feeling of constant work. The second tip, when you recognize that you might need a bit of help, is if you are finding yourself in that overwhelmed state, you know, the one where you put up your hands and you say, I can't do it. If you find yourself in that state quite often, then again, I would suggest come in and sit into a workshop. It's literally it's designed to be affordable. It's $47, like literally, you can't go cheaper than that. It's really just covering costs, but it's all about showing a different way of looking at things. And I really hope that you will walk away again with a set of tools that will stop you from feeling overwhelmed all the time. And the third one, that's an interesting one, because I believe that this workshop specifically can make a huge difference, even for someone who feels absolutely and totally organized. And that's a really interesting one, because I think that you can never be enough friends with your own time. There's always a little bit of room for improvement. And if you just want to hear someone like myself talking about time and a different perspective of time and of being organized and of being productive, then I think that again you would spend 3 hours very well. And I so often have people who come to my workshops just because they are curious of what I do, and they all recommend the workshop highly. People like Lee Cummins, she's probably one of the most organized people I know, or Margaret Cunniff, she again is like that. Yeah. You know her. So and even her says that it was just mind-blowing, because it's a different perspective of how you can relate best to your own time. So I would say, if you have 3 hours and you feel like you want to grow a little bit and make even more of your own time and become more productive, and you just want to meet like-minded people who are in that space of growth, then come along. It's every third Monday, literally, of the month. Next one is the 15th of July, and I would love to see all of you in the room.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ildi. That is wonderful. Ildi, from the CEO of Antplanner and the Time Wizard. I love that. I'm Faye Waterman. This is Talking All Things Business. And if you would like to be on the show, then please connect with me. There will be a link on the end of the program to link with me to find out more about it. If you want to become more visible, stand out in the crowd, be that influencer, be known as that go-to person, then come and join me on the show. It is bye for now, and until next time, thank you. Thank you, Ildi.
Thank you.